You know, it's not every day I get to do a story of resistance, of fighting back against the man, of standing up for what matters, of a mayor being put in his place by an average everyday citizen. But you know what? Today is that day. Today is a day where we learn that famous line that's in the Star Wars Rogue One trailer that never made the movie, rebellions are built on hope,
Rebellions are built on hope.
is in fact true, because a man from Jennings, Missouri just stood up to his mayor, embarrassed him, humiliated him, but more importantly, he won the battle. And not only will he win the battle, but hopefully he'll win the war, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, I just want to say thank you to everybody who signed up over on actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
And thank you to my podcast listeners on Apple, Spotify, and Google's podcasting platform.
Welcome to the match. City of Jennings versus homeowner.
Thank you.
And we'll call St. Louis County Police the referee.
The city inspector came by to tow my vehicle off my private property.
Robert Cotton Sr. arrived home to find a tow truck hauling his vehicle off, so he blocked them in. Cotton says the city's seizing it because the tags on his truck expired in 2017.
So our hero of today's story is Robert Cotton Sr., and Robert Cotton Sr. was defending his private property rights. He had a vehicle that was on his property. The tags were expired. Yes, that is in fact true. However, it was on his private property, and it was not something that he was driving around as he was working on it, as he was fixing it up as a project. Yet the mayor of his small town's Jennings, Missouri, decided that he was going to step up and try to take his property. The city cited it. They decided that they were going to tow this truck away, but Robert Cotton Sr., he respects private property rights. He demands that you respect his private property rights, so he decided to block in the vehicle.
But Cotton says it hasn't been on the road because he's been trying to make repairs.
Unfortunately, there's a boat that I can't get out. So I've had multiple mechanics come over, look at it.
More St. Louis County officers roll in. Officers call supervisors. Supervisors call their supervisors to decide what to do.
It's not in the street. It's not blocking the sidewalk. It's not on the grass. It's not bothering anybody.
So yeah, he blocks in the tow truck. Then the police are called. The police show up. They don't really know what to do with it, so they decide to call their supervisors, then they call their supervisors, and what we have here is a good old-fashioned Texas standoff. We got a man defending his private property against a city that is looking to take it, and he is not having it, and as he said, he's trying to fix up this car. He put a lot of money into it, he's had mechanics look at it, and it doesn't seem like he's anywhere close to getting it fully operational, so it makes no sense for him to register this vehicle that he's not driving, that he's just working on. But of course, we know that different cities, different local municipalities have their own ordinances. So what this really needs to come down to is whether or not those ordinances are applicable to his scenario.
We'll get back to this roadblock in a moment.
Deemed derelict and abandoned. License plates expired 5 years or made, whatever it was. Windows open.
So first of all, this is the mayor of Jennings, Missouri, Gary Johnson, and I just want to say he is in no way, shape, or form dressed like a mayor. I know it gets hot in Missouri. I know these small towns have lax standards, but I thought they were legitimately interviewing a random guy on the street, like a neighbor, to contrast to the person who didn't want their car taken. But it looks like he's actually the mayor of this city, and he says, oh, well, the car was not in good working order, and it's a hazard, and he's going to explain why that car needed to be taken.
Windows open.
We caught up with Jennings Mayor Gary Johnson about the ordeal. He says the city tagged the vehicle on May 25th, and the inspector called the tow 2 weeks later.
A safety hazard in our community.
What makes it a safety hazard?
What makes it a safety hazard? Property that is deemed a public safety hazard or that is parked or stored on private property, driveways of property, rear back areas of property.
The mayor read us the city ordinance, which goes on to read,
derelict or in violation of state vehicle safety inspection statute and vehicles which do not display the current state license plates.
Listen, I don't know anything about this mayor. I don't know about his policies. For all I know, this mayor, stellar policing policies, stellar economic policies, stellar job policies. But right here in this moment, he seems incredibly dumb. They ask him what makes this vehicle a safety hazard, and he reads an ordinance that is about safety hazards, but doesn't actually particularly apply to this vehicle. So when this guy confronts him on this, when this local news reporter who understands what was just said to him says, okay, but what makes this vehicle a safety hazard?
But what makes a vehicle parked on someone's private property a safety hazard?
I just explained it.
You read me the ordinance.
That's our ordinance.
But what makes it a safety hazard?
I just explained it.
So a truck that doesn't even operate or drive on the streets, can be considered a safety hazard?
Yes.
He ends up doubling down and saying, "Oh, it's a safety hazard. It's a safety hazard." But again, we don't know. We've done stories about government overreach. We've done stories about standoffs like this working in favor of the man, not of the rebels. And you know what? We don't know how this is going to go down, and I don't think you know how this is going to go down, even though maybe possibly I gave it away in the title and or thumbnail of this video. So let's see what's going on.
Jennings is not the only North County municipality to tow cars from private driveways. 81 vehicles have been towed from Calverton Park for having expired tags. Attorneys argue expired tags mean no safety inspection or emissions test.
According to our ordinances, that is a safety hazard.
You have to be kidding me with this. He just says, our ordinances, which I just read, that is a safety hazard. Again, but what makes this specific vehicle a safety hazard? It would be one thing if this guy was driving this vehicle, if he was putting out an uninspected vehicle on the road, which has risk to a whole bunch of different people, but it's not running. He's working on it. He's trying to fix it. It doesn't make any sense at all for you to deem this a safety hazard, and it's considered a gross violation, in my opinion, to go up on his private property in order to tow a car he's fixing because he hasn't done the things to make it legal to drive on the streets when he's not driving it on the streets.
Jennings mayor told the Fox Files people in Jennings are happy about derelict cars being towed from people's driveways. He did not know if fees are being issued to residents found in violation.
We're going to change the narrative in Jennings.
This driveway dilemma is in the final round,
The police done told him, you're breaking the law.
and Cotton will take the win. The tow truck driver is putting it back.
You can't take my personal property just because you want to. And this new mayor that we have in the city of Jennings is just going rogue.
I like this guy. I like his energy. He's like, the police done told them they was breaking the law, and then they put the car back because obviously they did not go through the proper procedures in order to take his property from his private property, which is why I'm covering the story. If this was something where this guy was grossly in violation, then I would understand this, but the mayor just was saying, here's an ordinance, therefore your private property rights, your constitutional rights are no longer protected, and there is no backing for that in Missouri law. You actually can't do that, and this guy was right to block this in because, again, they were stealing from him, essentially.
Unfortunately, there's one last gut punch in this battle. The truck will be returned with a flat tire.
They just keep poking the bear. Well, guess what? Now the bear is coming out the city of Jennings because I am going to file a lawsuit.
I mean, come on, guys. If you're going to return his car, you got to return it in the same shape that he received it in. But you can see the tire got flattened, so they did take their little bit of pound of flesh against him. So this isn't a perfect incident of no harm, no foul. Now he says he's going to sue over this. I don't know how much it's worth for him to sue. The cost of a tire for a vehicle like that doesn't run is not going to be particularly high, but the tow truck company or the city of Jennings should actually pay for this because they did not follow the proper procedures in order to take his car. And guess what? He identified that, he blocked them in, and he was proven right ultimately when the police showed up and they deemed that the tow truck operator was completely in the wrong.
The mayor won't say, if the city obtained or tried to obtain an administrative search warrant to take Robert's truck. We're told St. Louis County Police gave advice to the mayor based on the department's policy and state statute and the county ordinance.
Yeah, that's right. So the St. Louis County Police actually went to this mayor prior to this and they told him, you need to get a warrant in order to do this. You need to get an administrative warrant for a judge because the vehicle is on private property. Otherwise, you can't take it. And the mayor ignored that, it seems like, which is why the cops had this guy's vehicle put back on his property, which is a complete no-go. Look, I'm all in favor of cleaning up blight from the streets. I'm all in favor of making areas look better because that's going to change the character of the people, draw in investors and all of that, but you can't violate people's rights in order to do so.
It's very clear, and it goes back to many constitutional rights, United States constitutional rights. A vehicle has to be deemed a safety hazard. It has to go through a thorough process. And the St. Louis County Police have a very strict policy online that's available to the public. They can read it. It has to be declared, and it's very specific, a nuisance under the Junked Motor Vehicles on Private Property Ordinance. But then they have to go get an administrative search warrant signed by a judge. And so that's the clear question here. We don't know at this point if Jennings even went down the route of getting an administrative search warrant. The mayor won't answer that question.
And the fact that the mayor is refusing to answer a question on whether or not he had a warrant, to me, is proof positive that he definitely didn't. Because you know what you typically do when you have a warrant? You show the warrant and you're able to take the property. The police don't typically reject a search warrant just because they don't particularly like it, but the mayor can't answer it, the city of Jennings can't answer it, because in reality, what's most likely to be true is this guy who's flashing the ordinance, reading it and saying, "I got my ordinance on you," doesn't think that the rules apply to him. He's one of the dumber mayors in the country, and he totally failed on this, and he was outsmarted by a guy who actually recognized his own private property rights and was willing to defend them in a peaceful yet civilly disobedient way. It turned out, when push come to shove, after he blocked him off and the police showed up, when you're reasonable, when you're kind, when you discuss the issue with law enforcement, sometimes you get a good result. And today, we have a great story of somebody who fought for his private property rights, won, the police who actually acted appropriately in this situation, and the villain of this story, unambiguously, is the fact that local municipalities shove ordinances down the throats of their citizens, and this doofus mayor who thinks holding up a piece of paper to a reporter is somehow a substitute for a search warrant by a judge. All the respect in the world to this guy for fighting back. Private property rights are for everyone. They need to be respected as they are the foundation of any respectable civilization and the foundation of every successful economy. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in my comments below. If you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the battle for private property in Jennings. Till next time.